Hello, humans, and welcome back to another episode of RD2H Road to Happiness. I don't make these videos every single week, but what I love about my life is no matter where I wander off to or what experiences come my way, I always end up right here back in front of the camera relaying my experiences and talking to you guys. And I don't know, it's just brought me some peace, some consistency in my life, and an outlet to not feel like I'm doing this shit alone, or that I'm learning these experiences alone, or that I'm the only one in the world trying to put a better foot out there, but to have, a way to try to get other people to see that there is another way to view life and there is peace out there if you're willing to find it for yourself. And a way to just, help others through this journey that we call life, because it is a never ending process of evolution. And that's what I'm trying to do with my life and inspire others to do as well. So jumping right into this episode, we're going to be talking about the correlation between peace and nature today, and how being in nature can really inherently bring some peace and fulfillment and just a reset in your life, and how, we lost track of that with modern day society and big cities and urban developments and whatnot. But there's something about just going out and touching some motherfucking grass that, really helps you get on the path that you're supposed to be on. It brings you closer to the God, universe, Allah, whatever. And I'm going to be talking about that on this week's episode too, because last week I talked about how I was getting a lot more religious in my life and how I wanted to start going to church, which is completely something I would never ever say. And if you know me, you're like, wow, Natalie's saying that she wants to go to church. What the actual fuck? And so I have built a really big, strong foundation, I would say, in my relationship with God, which I've never had before in my life. And it has been something that has completely changed my life, changed the direction of my life, and given me a lot more, like I said, peace and fulfillment and just trust and faith that, I don't need to know everything and I don't need to know the plan, but I know for a fact that shit works itself out. And if it's not meant for me, it won't be in my life. And if it is, it'll find a way to come back. You attract what is meant for you. And so that kind of just changing my inherent core values and the way that I view the world and building a relationship with God has just really made such an impact in my life that I want to scream it from the rooftops, which is why I had the podcast, so I can scream it from the fucking rooftops, right? And so I was talking about how I want to go back to church, and I did that. I went back to church, and I will say when I walked in, I was a little like, do I belong here? And I think everybody says that the first time that they go back to church, but I found a Christian church near me that is not traditional Christian. You dress however you want. It's not fear of God. I can't get behind the fear of God kind of religion, because how are you going to tell me that I'm supposed to follow a God that's more merciless than me? I have more mercy than the God, whatever. You get what I'm saying. I just feel like a big part of my life has been, a key value is my mercy prevails my wrath. And so I couldn't get behind, people who are God-fearing, because how can I have more mercy and compassion for the people around me than a supposed leader? So that church, the church I'm going to, is nothing like that. It is very much aligns with who I am and the way that I view religion. So I walked in feeling like maybe I don't belong here. And honestly, the second that the service started, it was just this overwhelming sense of finally you came. And I can't explain it. It was just such a welcoming feeling. And it wasn't the people who welcomed me or the pastor who welcomed me. It was the fucking universe and God himself. I just felt an overwhelming, finally you decided to show up, and I did a little prayer in my head. I was like, God, I came. And now I've been to church 2 weeks in a row, and I can't wait to go again. I would have never thought that I would ever say that in my entire motherfucking life. I can't wait to go to church this Sunday. And I never thought that I would be somebody that scheduled their Sundays to make it to service, but it has changed my life in ways that I cannot describe. And that it's just an overwhelming feeling of you are where you're supposed to be, and the messages and things every week are the things that I'm battling with in my life. And it reminds me that I do not get to choose my situations or the people in my life, but I do get to choose how I respond to it and how I let it affect me and who I am as a person and the way that I walk through my life every day. And how I let the fucked up world around me inherently change my values. I stand 10 toes fucking down, and going to church has given me that, you know, realization that I'm not alone in that there are people out there who, in a core deep level, are trying to change the world for a better. And as fucked up as everything may be, you know, you can be that change. You can be that person that stands 10 toes fucking down and helps the underdog and helps the lost, because we were all lost at some point. And that was something that, you know, was talked about this week, actually. Not forgetting that you were lost before and you weren't always on the path that you're on. And that's how I feel with RD2H. I started it when I was completely lost as an individual, and it is about helping other people find their way, because I found mine. And so I know it's possible, even when it all seems hopeless and it all seems like nothing is ever going to be okay. It's possible to get back on your feet, and I'm a testimony to that because I fucking did it. So I know it is, and I'm trying to inspire you guys to do the same. So within my religious journey, I have also, like, you know, I call myself a Christian, but I don't conform only to the Christian teachings. I'm a big believer that, you know, all of us on this earth as humans, we have spiritual experiences. We have things that we can't explain. We have things in our life that fall into place as if it was destiny, or as if it was always meant to happen in that way. And the way that we explain our religions are completely different, because we're different individuals who have different perceptions of the world. So, you know, in the scriptures, you know, we're all saying the same thing. We're talking about the same experiences. We're relaying it in different terms. And language, in my opinion, is where language and tradition is what ruins religion and spirituality, because it condemns, you know, each other to the way that us as an individual perceive the world. And we all perceive it differently. So I have been trying to, you know, learn more about every religion, because the more I learn about religion, the more I realize we're all saying the same thing. We're all experiencing the same thing. We're writing it in the textbooks and we're writing it in the, you know, scriptures differently, because we're different people who relay things differently. And so I've been diving into, you know, the Buddhism scriptures, the Buddhists, the Hindus, the Israelis, pretty much anything I can get my hand on to find and, you know, piece together this correlation that everything is connected and everything is talking about the same thing. And I consider myself an academic, so this is past the point of academics, but I swear to God, there's a tie here, guys. Like, I think that we're looking at the whole world wrong, and I don't know. I just want to figure it out. So this week, I'm talking about, you know, peace and nature, and I'm going to piece together different religions who talk about nature being such a big part of the human experience, and about nature being the gateway to finding your path and connecting with God and feeling that peace and inherent stability within yourself. Because at the end of the day, if this game we call life is that a video game, the goal of the game is to realize who you are and to find some peace, tranquility, and fulfillment within yourself outside of worldly things. Because at the end of the day, all you need is you, and wherever you go, there you are, and everything else is just an additional, you know, factor of this worldly environment. But, you know, you are not your body, you are your soul. So everything else just doesn't matter once you find some, you know, stability within yourself. And also finding that stability within yourself and finding that peace and like that just well-being and like ending the war within your own mind, going internally is how we produce our external. You can manipulate anything in this life to be what you want it to be, but it starts inwards and then you manipulate your external to follow that. So that's basically the pretense of today's episode. And what brought this up is I went snowboarding, which I also talked about last week or whenever I filmed my last episode. But I went snowboarding on a trip to Colorado, Breckenridge, and I am wearing my shirt. You are on video and you can see that, because how in the world could I go on a vacation and not buy a souvenir shirt to show that I had been to that state? Am I right? And plus, I am a true believer that the gift shops at whatever destinations you're going to, gift shops always have the best material and the best sweatshirts. I do. I buy one everywhere I go. I buy something and I can't help it and I won't change. And so Breckenridge shirt today, that's what I rep because we were talking about the snowboarding trip. And so snowboarding, let's get into that. So snowboarding, guys, is where I'm going to start because that's kind of what inspired this episode of Peace in Nature. And, I have come to the realization that everything that makes me happy and makes me feel like I'm refreshed or like I'm ready to start again, or when I'm in like emotional turmoil or I'm like overwhelmed or whatever, when I go into nature and not only go into nature but conquer it is when I feel my absolute best. And no, I wouldn't say that I am the best snowboarder and I'm not the best surfer and I'm not the best skater. And if you do any of those sports and you saw me attempt any of them, you would probably call me a fucking poser. But I do know for a fact that when I am doing those things, when I am surfing, when I am skating, when I am snowboarding, when I am battling nature and I am in nature and trying to manipulate it for my own fun, that's when I feel my best. When I get off of the mountain, when I catch a wave, when I figure out how to carve at a skate park, that adrenaline and that just overwhelming sense, I don't even know how to explain it, but it gets me to a point where I just feel happy and fulfilled. And like I said, I'm not the best at any of those. And it's not about being the best at your hobbies or being the best at the things that you love to do. It's about how it makes you feel. It's about how much you enjoy it. That's, the point of having hobbies is to bring some peace and fulfillment into your life through things that you like to do, not things that you have to do. And so for me, it's skating, snowboarding, surfing, that being in nature, hiking, climbing, all of, these adventurous things. That's what I like to do. And so being snowboarding this last week, it just like made me feel refreshed. I was waking up every day at like 8 a.m. I didn't wake up later than 8 a.m. at all on my vacation. And I had full days to the point where I was exhausted by 8 p.m. And I was like, guys, I cannot keep my eyes open at all. And so I've come to the realization that refreshing your spirit doesn't mean relaxing your body. It is not the same thing. Like you can go to a massage resort for an extraordinary price that is actually probably ridiculous and not worth the money and still come back feeling like emotionally exhausted. And I can go on a snowboarding trip for 7 days and wake up at 8 every single morning and get on the slopes and just exercise and ride all day long and do all of these things and then be exhausted at the end of the day and come home from that trip feeling emotionally refreshed. So emotional refreshment is not the same thing as physical relaxment. And that's something that I've been learning. And when I came home from this trip, I was just so refreshed. I was like, I can conquer the world again because I was getting tired. I'm a full-time college student. I do this podcast. I'm a dog mom. I love my dog. And I work a basically full-time job. And so I'm constantly doing something, I'm constantly just overworking myself at the end of the day. I don't have time for anything but, working towards my goals and trying to, get to the next mark. And so a couple weeks, months of that, I get actually like tired. I get emotionally tired. I get physically exhausted. I get hungry because I'm really fucking broke because I'm in college and I haven't gotten a full-time job yet. And so it gets exhausting. And sometimes I just need to press that refresh button. And it's always like really stressful when we're getting to the refresh part because you're trying to like scramble everything together before you go on a big trip, or you're trying to scramble everything together before a big break. And I don't know, it's just like I get tired. And after this trip, I was like reflecting back and I was like, yeah, before the trip, I was in another period where I was just really fucking tired, like spiritually tired. And then the trip just refreshed me. And I really think it has to do with, being in nature and just enjoying the little things that God presented us. And, the way we were meant to live, like being in the snow, God-given, dancing in the rain, God-given, hiking the mountains, God-given, surfing the waves, God-given. And it's just, it just brings that connection for me, if you know what I mean. And, most of those things that I just named too, and a lot of things in life, a correlation I've made is, when I first started snowboarding, I have a big brother. And I'm not only the product of a big brother, I'm a middle child. And like, if you're a middle child, you get what I'm saying. I am the definition of a fucking middle child. And so I have a big brother who beat on me my entire fucking childhood. Like, I got shot with BB guns, I got wrestled, I have that type of big brother. And when it came down to learn how to snowboard, he did not let me learn on the bunny slopes. He taught me how to, snowboard by throwing me in the deep end and saying swim or drown. And that's what I did. And so I appreciate that, and I think that a lot of life happens like that. Like, you have to be thrown in the deep end and swim or drown. They're like trying to ease yourself into situations. Sure, you'll get there in a comfortable, quote unquote, manner, but really mastering something and really excelling in it and enjoying it means conquering the beginner's phase. And everything in life has a beginner's phase. A beginner's phase is when things are just so fucking hard for no reason. And you're looking around and you're like, other people are doing this shit easily. And you are just taking trials and tribulations until one moment, one day, because you were persistent and you didn't quit and you kept getting up, one day shit just clicks. Shit clicks and you're like, oh shit, I know how to snowboard, or I know how to surf, or I know how to do fucking accounting, or I'm a mechanical engineer and I know how rocket science works, because you just didn't give up. You got past that beginner's barrier. And so I'm a big believer that everything in life has a beginner's barrier. Everything in life, if you quit, you will never succeed. You already took yourself out of the running the second you decided it was too difficult or to give up. But if you keep going, if you keep failing, if you keep conquering those trials and tribulations, one day shit just clicks. And it is the best feeling in the entire fucking world. And it is something that nobody can take away from you. And so that is, my snowboarding experience. My brother threw me on the blue when I was learning how to snowboard, and I fell down a mountain for 2 years straight. Like, I popped my knee, I took tumbles, bruises, I cried on the slopes. I mean, you have not even tried to snowboard or ski or really pushed yourself to your limit if you have not cried on the slopes. I mean, it is equivalent to your dad doing math homework with you and you start fucking bawling your eyes out at trying to learn timetables, and everybody's in the house has tension and he's yelling at you and you're crying. That's what it's like to snowboard. Like, throw yourself down the blue. Everybody cries on the slopes. It's a canon event. And so learning how to snowboard, I remember when I was learning and I was getting thrown down the mountain and I was just falling. And I remember wanting to give up. I remember literally crying, sitting there bruised, hurt, wanting to give up. And I was like in a really bad place in my life, actually. It was like at the beginning of when I started this podcast, probably 2-3 years ago, when I was learning how to snowboard at the same time. And I remember having so many demons I was fighting in my mind and just so much turmoil and trying to overcome, my own mentality in my life. And snowboarding was like a testament to that. I remember being on the slopes. I was crying. I was frustrated. I remember thinking to myself, if you can fucking conquer this, you can conquer anything. If you can get back up and learn how to do this, you can do anything. And I think that building a mentality for yourself, the one that I try to, relay on this show, is bringing that mentality of, perseverance and value and, just not taking no for a fucking answer into everything you do in your life, whether it be your academics or your relationships or learning how to snowboard or anything or going to the gym and pushing yourself that extra 15 minutes to hit a mile when you're tired and you're just trying to justify why you can stop. Every time that you push yourself past what you thought you could do, you build on a foundation. You are building on a mindset every time you push yourself past what you think you can do. And you do that with everything, whether it be trying to learn a skill, trying to finish a chore, trying to, fix a relationship, anything that you do. When you just make yourself go a little bit farther, just go a little bit past the distance you had in your mind, you become stronger. And so with everything we do in our lives, taking that internal control, having intentional actions, every intentional action you do makes you stronger as an individual. And so for me, like I said, snowboarding is a testimony to that, because anybody who's on a snowboard, I know for a fact that you have taken falls and that you have gotten back up and that you did not give up and you got past that learning curve, because that learning curve absolutely fucking sucks. But once you actually stop falling on your board, I cannot describe a better feeling I've ever had in my entire life. And so going on that, I came home, I felt real fucking refreshed, and I immediately got right back into my life. And sometimes it's kind of hard to make that transition from vacation mindset mode to going back into regular life. But I don't know. I just I get some other type of high when I'm out there doing the things I love. And like I said, I suck. Like, in my opinion, I suck at snowboarding, but I love to do them. And that's, at the end of the day, all that matters. So I came home, immediately got right back to work. And like I told you guys on the last episode, totally bombed. Well, I didn't bomb. I missed it by 5%. My Florida real estate licensing exam. And so I came back, I studied for 2 days straight, and I passed that shit like that as soon as I came back from my trip, because I needed a break. I mean, the first time that I took the exam, I was studying 4 days in a row. I was sleep deprived. I was at the point where my sister was like, bro, you were drunk. That's how tired I was. She was like, you were awake, but you were you sounded drunk. There was easy wording in a problem. And I was like, why are they wording it so complicated? And she was like, bro, you're just fucking delusional. You've been up for 36 hours. And then I took the exam after that. So obviously I didn't do well. What did I expect? And I talked about on the last episode how when I go back on my accomplishments in life and I really think about everything that's made me the person that I am, I have never, ever got into a goal on my first try. I mean, and I think that's what's made me who I am too, is the refusal to accept failure. And I think that's what makes people, successful and ambitious. And just people who make an impact in this life is because of their refusal to accept failure. And so after I failed that exam, I took it again. I passed. And that's pretty much how life goes. You get kicked down, you stand back up, you make it work, and you learn from why you got kicked down in the first place. And so it's when we decide that, oh, it wasn't meant for us, or it's too hard, or whatever, and we refuse to pivot our direction or pivot the things that we're doing to get to that goal, that, failure stays failure. But failure is just the attempt before success. And I truly, truly, to the bottom of my heart, believe that if you refuse to fail, then you never will. Because, it might not be in your timeline that you succeed, and it might not happen when you thought it would happen, but it will happen as long as you refuse to take failure. And that's pretty much been every milestone I've ever taken in my life. Like I said, nothing ever comes on the first try, and nothing ever happens in your timeline. I got this license for a job that I had lined up. They said I would start working this job as soon as I got my license. I get my license, I email this company, I'm like, hey, I got my license, blah, blah, blah. They ghosted me. And so now I'm back on square one, which, if you've been listening to the episodes, I talk about my journey throughout college. I'm about to graduate less than a couple months from now, and I have no idea again where I'm going to be, what city I'm going to be in, what job I'm going to have. They literally ghosted me, and they left me on a bad position now where there's not a lot of internships in my field, because most people start looking for internships in fall, and now it's February. And so I'm in a really bad place. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm just applying to every job that I can. Don't know what city I'm going to end up in. I don't have any housing figured out. My lease ends in a couple months, but I really don't give a fuck, because I practice what I preach here, and I generally what is meant to be mine is going to be mine, and where I'm meant to be next year, I'll end up, and everything has its place. And if it's out of my control, it is out of my control that this company didn't respond to me. I did what I had to do. I went out, I got my license in a 6-week period, which is pretty fucking impressive in my opinion, on top of all my other responsibilities in life. And I got my license in a 6-week period. I emailed them. I kept them up to date. I did my, active duties as a candidate for a position. I did everything I was supposed to do. I still got ghosted. So that company just wasn't meant for me, one. And two, I don't want to work for a fucking company that ghosts me. I don't want to work for a company that, says do X, Y, and Z, and when I do it, I don't even get a response. That's so unprofessional. So at the end of the day, things happen for a reason, right? And everything works out. And I just need to have faith that wherever I end up may be way fucking better than where I thought I was going to be. So I'm going to end this episode with wrapping it up and tying all of these quotes that I found from different religions that basically, talk about how nature is, the gateway to a relationship with God, Allah, the universe, Buddha, whatever religion that you relate to, or whatever language, resonates best with you. nature is the key to this human experience and to refreshing our mind, bodies, and souls so that we can continue to persevere through this life and to become these strong individuals that make change. Soldiers make change. People who don't give up make change. People who have that fight and that spirit and just internally are filled with a desire to not only make themselves better, but to set an example for others. Those are the people who make change in this world. So I wanted to share with you guys, because I really do think there's a connection between every religion, different quotes that basically, set the foundation of nature being a crucial part to this human experience. Because like I said, I think that we're digging into the words and the logistics of this like life and religion and, how we're supposed to be living life, and constantly arguing with each other that we don't realize that at the root foundation of it all, we all say the same thing and all our ancestors say the same thing, but we're still unable to see, the little gateways that we have to make our life better. We're unable to like actually accept them because of differences with culture, tradition, region, whatever it may be that, causes this disconnect with each other. So going right into it, we're going to start with Buddhism. And so the Buddhists, they basically say that, this is a quote, and I have the names of the people, like the religious leaders or the people that are idolized from history that said the quotes, but I'm going to be honest with you, like a lot of them are different cultures or different languages, and different languages and cultures and regions have different names. And I can't pronounce some of them. And I don't want to botch like really important religious people's names on my show. So I'm not going to tell you guys like exactly who said the quote, simply because I don't want to botch the names. So we're going to start with a Buddhist quote. And the quote says, "In the solitude of the forest, one finds joy, free from worldly attachments. The wise delight in the meditative seclusion, enjoying the bliss of peace." And I like this quote because basically, dude, like, that's exactly it. Like when you are in nature and when you're away from all the bullshit and when you're away from, just all of the things that occupy your mind that are of this world, worldly things, whether it be your job or, stressful friends or relationships or whatever it may be that haunts you at night. When you're in nature, all of that shit disappears because nothing matters or nothing is like, as important as what is right in front of you. I mean, that's how I feel when I'm in nature. And everything else that is, haunting you at night, it's all worldly things and of this world. And anything of this world, can only bring you harm when you let it, when you bring it into your emotions. But a true soldier is someone who conquers their emotions and separates the spirit from the world and doesn't hold too much value in the status or the, finances or the worldly possessions that we, think are so important. The way you dress, what you have, all of that, it just doesn't matter. And when I'm in nature, it doesn't matter. It especially doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I have on fucking a Gucci t-shirt or if my house is the biggest or if my career is the best. When I'm standing in front of a mountain and looking at what God made himself and realizing that I am so small and powerless compared to the beauty that is out there that is not man-made. Pretty much all of the things that are so sacred in this life are not man-made. And I think that is where we get confused because you're seeing all these ads telling you to be a certain way or to act a certain way, or, the goal is to reach this level of lifestyle or whatever. And at the end of the day, all you gotta do is go to the fucking mountains and realize that all of that's worldly and it doesn't fucking matter. And so that's how I feel when I'm in nature. And that's basically what the Buddhists say as well. I'll say it again. In the solitude of the forest, one finds joy free of worldly attachments. The wise delight in meditative seclusion, enjoying a bliss of peace. And that's like where I find the most peace is in nature and away from all of the bullshit that society throws onto us. And so going on that, we're going to go into the Prophet Muhammad of Islamic religion. And he says, solitude is better than bad company. And the best solitude is to be in nature where one remembers Allah. And again, whether you say Allah, God, the universe, whatever fits best and resonates with you and your background and your traditions, the best solitude is to be in nature where one remembers Allah. I'll say it again for my Christians. The best solitude is to be in nature where one remembers God. And so we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about the connection of God, Allah, the universe, Buddha, whatever, and its presence being the strongest in nature. And so, I agree with that 100%. It's better to be by yourself in a mountain, connecting with the universe, connecting with God, connecting with Allah, than it is to be around people that don't have your best interest at hand, and at the end of the day are snakes and goats. And I am trying to implement that into my life, but it's real fucking hard when you live in a city and when you're broke and don't have money to live the lifestyle you want. But, it's those breaks away from society that bring the solitude. But you can't escape society in general, because the people who understand that, like you and me, our job is to go out there and reform society, to bring awareness, to make other people realize that, there's a different lifestyle out there than the one that is marketed to you through ads and TikTok and social media. There are other things in life than status, money, and personal gain. There is a better path. There's a better way. The way that we're doing it right now isn't the only way to do it. And in my opinion, the right way is so much more simpler than any man-made, path that we have paved. The right way is literally going out and touching some fucking grass and seeing what a difference that makes in your life. I don't want to sound like hippie and stuff, but, we're all brainwashed on a day-to-day basis and constantly told different ways on how we should live our life. And at the end of the day, when we really look back at scriptures, prophets, people of intellect, engineers, people who have made change in this world, they all have something in common, and we argue what that is. So that's what I'm just trying to bring to light here. Anyway, going on, we're going to have Christianity also saying how important nature is and how nature leads to a relationship with God. And Psalms 23:2 says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul." So again, we see that, parallel throughout people in history, people in religions, different cultures, sharing and highlighting the connection between nature and spirituality. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. Another one from the Christian book is Matthew 6:26, and he says, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Consider how the wildflowers grow. They do not labor or spin." And this one, I want to fucking scream this one from the top of the universe, because let me say this part again. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns. And that's what we do in this modern age. We sit on our asses, bed rotting. There's literally a term for it. Gen Z coined a fucking term for sitting and doing nothing all day, bed rotting. And that's what I'm seeing a generation of people do. Bed rot and, look forward to the next time they get to sit in bed for 10 hours without interruption and just scroll and scroll and scroll. And then they sit there and they say, why am I lost? Why do I not feel joy? Why do I not feel fulfillment or peace? And it's because you were not meant to sow or reap or store away in barns. You were meant to go out and lie in the green pastures and beside the quiet waters and to connect with nature and to live a life. And we sit in these rooms and wonder why depression is such an issue in our society and why none of us feel happy or complete or okay with the lives we live. And I'm not saying that it's plausible to go do that every day. And if it is plausible for you, great. For me, I live in a city and I have a finance job. It's not possible for me to, go out and be in nature every single day. But it is important for me to make time to do so, because we're not meant to sit in our rooms, on our computers, on, living life through a screen. That's not what we are here to do. We're here to wake up and to enjoy the beauty around us and to, share with other people the realizations that all that you need is all that you are, and all that you need is what you already have. Like, we have everything we need today, and tomorrow will bring everything we need as well. Going on the next religion, I have indigenous spirituality, which, comes from the Native Americans, and we know that the Native Americans truly had a connection with nature. And I haven't done a lot of studies on Native American spirituality, but something tells me I'm gonna fucking love Native American spirituality, because I think they had a lot of it right too. And I think that their way of life and their compassion and their values and, just the way that the Native Americans hold themselves and their beliefs are, very prominently connected with spirituality. And I think they know shit that we don't. And I don't know what they know, but I want to know what they know, because I know they know shit that I don't. And so I want to do more research on Native American spirituality, because I really think that that's going to help my spiritual journey, and I'll relate it on the show, so it'll help yours. But the quote that I have from Indigenous Spirituality Today says, "The earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. Walk softly upon her, and she will grant you peace." Again, a common theme, that when you appreciate the world around you, peace follows. And, when you do the inside work, the world gives you what you need. There is some kind of connection with something outside of this world, unworldly things, when you connect with nature and when you respect the environment that holds you and, gives you breath to breathe. I might be fucking up the name of this religion, and I apologize if I do, but the next one is Sikhism. 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 Don't really know how to pronounce that, but it originates from the region of South Asia, which is now divided by India and Pakistan. And so I apologize again if I messed up the, pronunciation of that religion, but it is very prominent still, and it is worth the mention. And so in Sikhism, again, they say, "He who merges with the divine finds peace in the forests and the rivers, for the divine dwells in all of nature." And again, the same thing. He who merges with the divine, when you find, some sort of spirituality in whatever way that looks like for you, you find peace within nature, because the divine resides in nature. And so the theme of today's episode, I can't express how much it will do for your well-being, for you finding your path, for you getting to a place of peace within yourself, to just connect with the place that you came from. Dust to dust. We come from the dust, we return to the dust. And in the dust, we have some connection there. And I know that with, every ounce of my being. And so being around where you came, the mountains, the rivers, the forest, it brings some kind of connection to what we as humans don't understand. And outside of religion, we're going to go into science, because I swear it's all connected. Science, in my opinion, yes, it explains a lot, but just because science doesn't explain it does not mean that it is not occurring. We have humans on our timeline, in the whole timeline of human beings, we've been alive for like maybe a megasecond. And so for that reason, we are still very much, as a species, ignorant. We don't have the answers to everything, and what we don't have the answers to, we just mark off as does not exist. And even if we have the wrong answers to things, we mark off as doesn't exist, or we are right to all and be all. I think science supports religion, and science can, help us understand how God and the earth operates. Because in my opinion, the earth itself is a living, breathing thing. As the tectonic plates move, that is the earth growing, shifting, moving. As trees grow, that is the earth moving. As winds blow, that is the earth breathing. The earth itself is a living, breathing thing. It is just not in the sense that we are. It is not, to human standards, we're different, but it still has some kind of force to it that, in my opinion, is its own being. We just don't see it that way because we only see living things as humans or as animals or, our definitions by science. But the fact that the tectonic plates move, the fact that the waves, go through tide cycles and, just everything. It's just a perfect fucking being. It's a living being thing. Like that's all that's my personal opinion. And science, gives us an understanding of how that works in the sense that science, tells us how our body works. But that doesn't change whether we understand it or not. It doesn't change that it's moving, that our body is its own thing. I don't control, a lot of things that happen in my body. It's its own thing. And I don't know if I'm going crazy with that, but I just think that, science supports religion and helps us to understand how the earth and the universe and God and Allah and whatever are moving and operating and manipulating, but it doesn't discount it. It just gives us a little bit more of an understanding on how things work in this worldly environment. Because even the earth, the waves, the winds, all of it, it's of this world. And so, yeah, that's where I'm going to cut my goo gaga shit. But yeah. Anyway, going on, we're going to talk about scientists who also believe in nature being healing and in, spirituality, because most of our biggest leaders in this world are innovators, are, mathematicians, are philosophers, are engineers. Everybody who's made a fucking difference in this world, they say the same thing. And so when we take all of these people who did great things and we really break down what they're saying, there is a key underlying theme that each and every one of us can learn from these great people and try to implement it into our lives. And so going on with scientists, I'm going to start with Leonardo da Vinci. And, Leonardo da Vinci's, one of his biggest work was the beginning of aviation. He created this wooden device that was basically, prototyped off bird wings. And it was the first thing that led to aviation and the idea of flight for humans. And then obviously the Warner Brothers took that and they created the first airplane. So Leonardo da Vinci studied nature a lot and used it in his innovations and within his contribution to society and the world we know as it is. And he said, learn how to see, realize everything connects with everything else. And I like I said, I believe that, and I think most of our innovators do, is that there is some kind of, invisible red string theory. That says it all, that everything is tied to everything else. And every, thing that makes humans so great is that we're able to use our life experiences and use the things that we see from our day-to-day routines and from nature and from whatever and incorporate it into innovation to move us forward as a species. So I think that's just the basis of it. Everything that we are and everything that we know is because of our environment. So we have to have some kind of respect for the world that we live in and our environment because it creates us, and at the end of the day, we go back to it. Another great leader, George Washington, said, I love to think of nature as an unlimited broadcasting station through which God speaks to us every hour, if only we will turn in. And I like this one so fucking much, guys, because God talks to you. I swear to God, he talks to you. The universe sends you signs, things, he talks to us through people, through nature, through animals, through signs, through the things that we see in our everyday life. But it's up to you to listen. You can count it out as, just a random coincidence. You can count it off as just, the ordinary. But at the end of the day, I agree with him. Nature is an unlimited broadcasting station, but you have to tune in. You have to tune in and you have to be able to listen to the message that's being sent to you that day. Johannes Kepler was one of the groundbreaking scientists that helped with the discovery of the laws of planetary motion and the natural mathematical order of celestial bodies. And so he was a real big math guy, basically, and helped with the understanding of space and aerodynamics. And he said, geometry existed before creation. It is co-eternal with the mind of God. And I like this one because I really think that everything in this universe comes down to numbers. It comes down to 1 and zeros, and math is the, key of everything that is created in this universe. Everything boils down to an equation, and that is how we understand it as human beings, because again, our perception and our understanding of this world is very limited as a species, as a person even more so. And so I think everything, even like technology, everything, it boils down to numbers. And so I think that, it is very probable that God, the universe, whatever, used numbers and used, math as we understand it as a tool and as a foundation to build everything that we, know today. But us as humans, we don't know all of the math equations. We don't know all of the numbers. We don't have a full understanding. And I like how, one of the key pioneers of aerodynamics says it himself, all of this is already existent. It is through our studies and our research that we learn more. But that doesn't mean it does not exist. It means that through our evolution of geometry, math, and science and everything, we are able to have a greater understanding of what already exists. But just because you don't understand something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so that's the last example I'm going to give and where I'm going to kind of wrap up this episode. But the key takeaway is just how important it is for your spiritual and personal journey, and even your professional journey, I would say, to find places in your life to reconnect with nature. And whether you believe religiously or not, it is a foundational part of us, just breaking away from worldly things, breaking away from toxic environments, breaking away from, the approval of others and the need to be seen. It kind of disappears when you find that not only that inherent peace that I talk about on every episode within yourself, but your place in this world. And when you're out in the great beyond, you realize that your place is simply to experience and to take all of your experiences to help others make the best of theirs. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, how far you go as long as you enjoy the journey, because the journey is not about the destination. It's about enjoying every phase of life and every experience that you get the privilege to be a part of and every day that you get to wake up. And it isn't about anybody else or how anybody else views your life or, sees or perceives you. It's about how you feel living it. And nature just reminds me of that basic level that I'm trying to communicate without, tradition or old beliefs or our ancestors' writings or anything else other than what I'm trying to say is, conveyed correctly. We can all agree on the basic truths. Whatever religion that you conform to, I think we can all agree about the importance of nature, the basic truths, when you scrub all the bullshit. I think we can all agree on things. Maybe I'm naive to say so. Maybe I'm young and I haven't really seen the ways of the world, which I do think I have, but maybe I'm delusional. But I think it's people who are delusional that make a change. So I'm going to keep going. And, the way that I might relay this message to you may be triggering and it may not resonate with you. And maybe somebody else says the exact same shit I'm saying to you right now, and they say it a different way that doesn't trigger you as much and you understand. And that's just the language barrier and the, perception and communication that we have, the difficulty we have with one another. And so I do my best, but the way that I express myself might not resonate with you. But I do believe that if it was expressed in a way that resonated with you, you would understand where I'm coming from. I truly believe that, everything that I say on this show is a universal thing that can help billions of people if I can just find the right words to say it. And that whether or not you think in a way of religion or science, there are foundations of the universe or the way that, humans are supposed to live in this realm that ultimately affect everybody and influence everybody. And we just like I said, we have a really hard time communicating our ideas with each other without backlash or without, controversy. And I don't know if that will ever change, but that's not a reason to not speak out on what you believe. And so, yeah, that's where I'm going to wrap up this week's episode. I love you guys, and I thank you for staying tuned. If you stayed tuned and listened to this long ass episode, like, thank you. And I will probably be back whenever I have more to say. And yeah, that's that. I love you guys. And I hope you get out this week and you touch some motherfucking grass. I don't care where it is. I don't care like what you do. Go lay it down and look at the fucking stars at night and touch some motherfucking grass, because it's healing. Nature's healing, and there's a lot more to this life than what social media will tell you to run after. And yeah, go out there, be a better version of yourself, make a difference, and send some kindness to a stranger this week. Love you guys. RD2H, Road to Happiness. Bye.